Oh. I'm not kidding you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. I'm your host, One Ton Hammer. With me tonight are my co-hosts, Terry. Say hello.
Hello.
And Jennifer. Say hi.
Hi. I don't have the stream on. I don't know why.
What did you do?
It. No, it's just the YouTube isn't sharing it with me. I had an update a couple days ago, and to be honest, it's been the biggest pain because it unbelled everybody. And I just, it hasn't been showing anybody. Like I've turned it on and off just deliberately, and yeah, it's still kind of being an asshole to me.
Can you see chat? Do we have to give you a link?
Oh, you know what? I got it now.
Oh,
there
sweet.
we go.
Okay, good.
YouTube's just, see, that's what makes me mad because I always set it up so that it's muted first.
Yes.
And then it undid that because I was like, oh. But that's okay. You know what? We are used to shenanigans on the minions, and everybody has their moments. And
Well, I screwed up a little bit at the beginning of the stream too. I started it on our regular screen where it has all three of our icons instead of starting it on the Hammer intro logo where it says Hammer live streams. So I started it wrong. No big deal. I don't think there's anybody in chat who gives a shit about any of this stuff.
No, probably not.
So-
and honestly, I think everybody's had that one update where they're like, God damn it.
We're all friends here. It's okay. Everybody in chat, they love us anyway. So for the topics of the show tonight, I guess people have had a chance to take a look at the description, and I'm assuming we're still in the air that Susan hasn't come and gotten us yet. But but the controversy over Nirvana's Nevermind album, the person who played the part of the baby in the water has all grown up, and he's become an American because he is now suing for his picture as a little baby. I guess he's a little embarrassed, maybe, but he was a little baby. I mean, come on, right?
I don't think he's got any grounds to sue. Does he?
I mean, you blow him up, and that he's nothing to be ashamed of.
I mean, would he? I don't know how that works because I mean, as an infant, it's really up to your parents what happens with you.
Right. That's a good point.
I mean, they also would have gotten payment for it. So I mean, he would.
That's my point.
You know, if they had gotten payment for it, I can understand him being mad at his parents because there's no way as an infant to consent to that. There's just you can't.
Right.
You know, but at the same time, though, that's not what he's doing. He's not suing his parents. He's
it's not the record label's fault that his parents are shitbags.
No, that's sorry.
Shitbag. Okay. Well, we also want to mention that OnlyFans is on the docket for tonight, but we'll get to that later because I'm really interested into teen spirit here.
Well, I'm gonna make a comparison, and I know it's a different field and stuff, but like Ashley Kate and Mary Kate, or whatever the name is, the
Olsen twins.
Olsen twins.
Yeah,
they're an example. They're an example of two kids who really probably shouldn't have started that early in life. Like, honestly, I don't think it was really good for them mentally. Like to be handled by so many strangers when you're just a little tiny baby, even if you're not expressing fear, that can also be just a shock factor. And they've never sued their parents.
No, but this kid's not suing his parents either. He's suing the record label.
Yeah,
and that's what I
mean.
Sense. And that's what I mean. Like, if you look at the extent of damages, if you compare the two, I'm like, sorry, kid, but like, yeah, be a little bit mad at your parents for, or at least ask them where the money is. I mean, if it was supposed to be for you, and maybe that's the issue is you didn't get the money, because there's a good chance.
Yeah. All of that would make sense if he was suing his parents. Like, if he says, you had no right to sell my image when I was an infant, I'm very angry with you. That makes sense. I still don't think he'd win because parents do have that kind of rights over their infant children. Yep. But I can understand where he's coming from. If he's suing the record label, they just made a deal with someone to buy their image. It's like, It's not they didn't do anything wrong.
I don't really see where he has illegal grounds on any of this.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, if they were selling the image label, I don't know how that works. Like, I don't know if he has any say in that, because it is his image. Like, if they're making a sale of that image and it's his image,
Did he sold his parents sold the rights to it though?
yeah, that's the problem. That's I hate to break it to you, kid, but the people you should be mad at are your parents, because maybe they should have held on to that for you.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's a poor life decision on their behalf, because maybe they should have asked for, like, maybe, a 0.5% or something.
And I agree with Check Your Logic. Children in general shouldn't be famous. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they get dragged into everything, like adult life, like that young, and so
Yeah.
you have to rely on the people that you have to rely on. Well, the people that you're supposed to rely on are preying on you half the time.
Well, there's adults who can't handle the pressures of fame. Can you
Yeah.
imagine a child going
Yeah.
through it?
It can be done right.
Mm-hmm.
But
It can be, but for the most part, I don't think
Yeah.
they should be involved in that sort of life.
yeah, what are the odds that it actually is going to end up right? How many child stars have come through being a child star on the positive end? Not many.
I can only think of one. Mara Wilson seems to, I mean, she's a feminist, so maybe that doesn't count as ending up all right. But she's not like a drug addict or anything. She's just, an author and a screenwriter and such.
Well, there's so many examples of it going wrong. I mean,
Yes.
the kid from Star Wars, drug
Mhm.
addict killed somebody.
Yep.
Even people like Macaulay Culkin
Yeah.
ran into all
Yeah.
kinds of problems. Lindsay Lohan. How many people can we name? I can name. I keep going. Look at the girl from what you talk about, Wilson. What was her girl?
When
Dana?
your most normal person is Miley Cyrus, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, she comes across as someone who's been, I don't know, she's fucked up. It could just be pills. That could be a thing too. But I don't know. It happens
But
so
even
often.
Britney Spears.
Yes,
She
absolutely.
wasn't a child, and even she went nuts from the pressure of fame.
Look at what Robert Lang said in the chat.
The Nirvana baby only sued after parents died.
So he
Okay.
still has no grounds to sue, though. Like,
Yeah, I think that's one of those things where maybe he was too late to the conversation with his parents, because I think they maybe didn't get a good deal, or maybe they didn't try to, or they sold it too soon, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's just tough shit, unfortunately.
yeah.
That market's really tough like that. You really kind of have to have someone on your side who knows what they're doing, or is at least a hard hitter.
No, I mean, it sucks for the guy that his naked baby photo is one of the most internationally recognized images in the world. But you can't sue the record label because they didn't do anything wrong. They made a deal with your parents to license your image. And yeah, it sucks that you weren't part of that conversation because you're a baby, but you can't sue them. They didn't break the law. They didn't do anything wrong.
It's like being the kid on the lotion bottle baby,
Right.
like, and coming back afterwards and being like, yeah, you guys owe me money. Like, their parents, I think, did that, and rightly so, because it was their kid, but it wasn't the kid doing that. I don't know if that was a thing or not. I just remember it coming up once upon a time. I'm old, my memory's a little bit shaky.
Camel in chat says the kid from Willy Wonka apparently turned out pretty well and became a farmer. So, I mean, it can happen that it goes well. It's just the minority case.
I think some of them know to walk away too, and some of them unfortunately get typecast, and it's actually really kind of bad. Like, a lot of kids just after they've done one role, that's it.
Yeah, the Gerber
And it's
baby.
it's actually worse for the dudes sometimes than it is for the girls, especially the young crowd. A lot of them just can't get any other work. Like, Urkel's an example of that. Like, it's rare to see him in anything else because everyone just knows him as Urkel. And
Good
that's
typecast.
What was that kid from? What was it? Something the Bell. Ring the Bell.
Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell. Yeah, trying to be a porn actor or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I mean,
because
it happens.
it's just there's only so much you can do after a certain point because people just associate what you did last time with who you are, and it's dumb.
Was Kurt
A Harry
Russell?
Potter kid.
Was Kurt Russell a child actor? Assassin's.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Was he?
yeah, he was.
There you go. Assassin's got another one. I didn't know about that one. I only
Is he
know him
really
as
normal
Snake.
though?
Well, yeah.
I mean, I know he seems it, but they all seem it, and then you look into their closet, and then you find out they're doing shit.
Well, Kurt seems like he's okay. I mean, he's starring in the MCU universe, right? Guardians of the Galaxy. So, I mean, he's
I
in my
wish you
favorite
luck,
movie. He was in
sir.
Tombstone, right?
I salute and wish you luck, sir, on your journey.
Dustin Diamond, yeah. Hey, Campbell got the Ring the Bell guy, or Saved by the Bell guy.
Saved by the
Dustin
Bell.
Diamond.
That was Screech, I think his character's name was, wasn't it?
Right. That's all before I was in my 30s by the time that show came on, but
I never watched it. I just
did.
know it from watching YouTube videos and such.
I did. I watched it all the time. Like if I had a sick day, I watched it. It wasn't good, but I always used to watch it and just like, why?
I'm going to say I don't think it was meant to be good. I think it's like Garfield, where it's just meant to be that thing you watch or that thing you read. It's just meant to be part of your weekly routine that you don't really think, oh man, this is amazing. You think, oh, it's Saved by the Bell is on, let's watch it.
Yeah. Also, there wasn't really a lot of options either because like my parents were kind of cheap on channels at the time, so it was like that or game shows or kiddie shows or the French channel. So I was like, okay, I can't speak French.
I mean, in Australia, until we got pay TV, which was like late 90s, we had 4 channels, and you better like what was on one of them.
See, at least you get me there. You get me there. It's not necessarily that I wanted to watch it. It was just like, well, what options do I have?
Yeah.
Yeah, my television experience is going to vary completely from both of you because you guys are much closer what's the word always? Much closer in age than I am. I'm almost 20 years out from both of you. So when I was growing up, it was, George of the Jungle and Speed Racer and Wacky Racers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I was a daycare kid. Daycare kids get reruns.
George is still my favorite, even to this day.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum. I can't get it out of my head. I love that show.
Yeah, lots of Hanna-Barbera too.
Yeah.
I mean, I know most of the stuff that Hammer watched as a kid because of my dad. I mean, my dad was 20 odd years older than I am, so the stuff he grew up with as a kid, he was quite eager to share with me. I don't remember it nearly as well as the stuff that was on when I was growing up, because obviously I was a little kid when my dad was like, hey, let's watch George of the Jungle. And like, I don't remember that much of it.
Those are my favorites. Wacky Tunes and, of course, Looney Tunes. Wacky Racers and Looney Tunes.
I loved Wacky Races and Laugh Olympics because they're basically the same show.
You know what my education. Everyone used to watch Sesame Street, but I used to watch Zoom. It was on PBS, Public Broadcasting System, and it's a bunch of kids, and it was kind of like the same idea as in the same vein, I would guess, but it was a little bit more public broadcasting, so there wasn't a lot of money, so it wasn't a lot of production values. But they used to have this song about the address and how you can mail stuff to them if you want to mail stuff to them, and they read it on the air, all that kind of stuff. But
cool.
I'm 58. I still remember that song. I still remember the words and music for Speed Racer. It's just when you're young, you just soak that stuff up, and it just never goes away.
I mean, the best kids show ever made is actually Canadian. It's You Can't Do That on Television. That is the greatest show that is the greatest show that was ever made in terms of kids shows.
Yeah, they dumped slime on kids. It was funny.
Oh, but more than just that, just everything about it was great. It's like that got me into sketch comedy to make me able to appreciate stuff like Monty Python, like that whole format of sketch comedy for kids was like mind blowing to me as a little one.
See, Six gets it. I'm sorry to interrupt. Six gets it. See what
Zuma,
he
zuma,
said?
zoom.
Yeah, that was their little song. I'm gonna zoom. Zoom. He remembers. Anyway, keep going.
No, it was just I went back and watched clips on YouTube for You Can't Do That on Television, and it's like, oh, I remember this. Oh, I remember her. Oh, I remember that guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I hadn't seen the show in like 20 years. It's like, oh, I remember them.
You know, one of those reasons I really should rewatch that show is to remind myself that that's where Alanis Morissette started from.
Yes, it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because she was super young. I can't remember the vision of her face from back then, and just to, not to throw shade at her. Like, I know a lot of people do, just because her music style was.
I liked her music. I have a copy of Jagged Little Pill.
A lot of it was really good. I find that a lot of the stuff that she did that was really good was when she was doing a lot of collabs with people. Like she actually did do a lot of stuff with a lot of big names. Like she did one with the Chili Peppers guy, and like that song had like a whole bunch of people.
She was actually not allowed. She was forbidden from singing on You Can't Do That on Television because they knew that they wanted a music career for Alanis Morissette. And they didn't want any legal fighting over the rights to songs that were sung on that show. They said, "No, Alanis, you're not singing. Once you're off the show, then we'll push your music career."
Yeah, I kind of get that, but at the same time, though, that would have been a pain, especially if you like singing at that age.
Yeah, well, she was just straight up like she was told, "No, you can't. You are not allowed to."
Which is odd because wasn't Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and all those people pushed into singing?
That was through the Mickey Mouse Club, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Different studio.
Yeah.
She would have been in a. That's actually Canada. That was a Canadian show, so I'm not sure if that would have been. I think that would have been Toronto.
Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm.
So they ran differently. It's just a shame.
Assassin in chat says, Max, you rather ironic, don't you think? That's a quote from Ironic from or a reference to. And the funny thing is, if you look at the lyrics for that song, this song's called Ironic. If you look at the things that she states, is like rain on a wedding day. Yeah, all that stuff. If you look at the things that she points out, none of those are ironies, actually.
No.
There's a comedian called Ed Byrne. He does a whole bit on that song. He says, like, rain on your wedding day is not ironic unless you're marrying a weather forecaster and he picked the day of the wedding. Then it's ironic.
That's a good point. But all the ones she points out are all not ironies. If you look at the definition of what an irony is, none of them are. Which, is that the whole point of the song?
No,
I honestly wonder if that wasn't it. Like, if she had some weird hippie reason for it, but I don't know.
No, the guy Ed Byrne, he says the whole song should have just been called "Unfortunate" because everything she says is unfortunate, but none of it's ironic.
Right. But I think I sometimes wonder if people are fourth dimension chess here with me with these kind of things. Like, let me make a song, we'll call it ironic, and then we'll point to things that are not ironies as being ironic.
I don't think so. I think you're giving them too much credit.
I'm just trying to screw with my mind, I guess.
No, it's fun to think. It's fun to think of Jedi Masters being drunken masters, like Jar Jar Binks being a hidden Sith Lord. I used to love that theory. I know it's not true, but having him be like a hidden drunken master was just hilarious.
But I think Alanis just got it because if you listen to the song, she's like. It makes you think, or like, sort of. She thinks that's what irony is. Anything that makes you go, isn't it typical? I think that's what she thinks irony is, or what she thought irony was.
I'm sure that my take that it could be something fourth dimensional chess kind of thing. I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure she as a person actually thought those all were ironies.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't it have been actually ironic for her to put in non-ironies into a song called Ironic? That would have been ironic. So, I don't know. I'm trying to cut her a break. I like the album. It was a great album.
I like the beat of it. Like the song itself might not have made sense, but it was still a catchy song, and I think that's what was irritating, is people knew that it made no sense.
Well, I mean, I've always said that lyrics don't really matter for songs. Like, they have to be there, but they don't have to make sense or be good or anything. As long as the tune is good, no one really cares that much about the lyrics.
Well, you see, I think the problem and the reason there's so much of a bit of a hate border for her up here is the same problem we always have when you live in Canada. You guys don't have to worry about this because you don't live in Canada. But Canadian artists have to be played a certain amount of times. So when you hear Ironic over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, all of a sudden you don't really give a shit about the lyrics. You just want them to stop. And you're like, that's no longer ironic. That's just painful.
She had a bunch of hits off that album too, and that was her debut, wasn't it? Her first album.
Yeah, and it's the only one I know any songs from.
Yeah, I find that most of our misery up here is really just that, and I wouldn't have a problem with it if they actually like did longer tracks of everything. But yeah, you'll have like Nickelback and Alanis Morissette. At least back then, that's what it felt like. You would have it like over and over again in a half-hour period, not even in just like an hour period. And
no, I think that's pretty universal. I think they go to the record stations and say, we want to play this often, and if they want the money, they have to play it that often.
Yep.
Yeah. There's like 5 tracks. You Want to Know was a big hit. Hand in My Pocket, You Learn, Head Over Feet, and Ironic are probably the 5 most popular off that album. And to come out with a debut album and hit 5 hits,
yeah.
It made an impact.
It did. I liked her. I listened to her, but like
the problem is, I don't think she had any other successful albums. Did she?
I think they were going to push another album, and I think she put it out there, but I think it just wasn't very good. And I know she took a long break too, because I think that was part of the problem. People were like, you might want to take a break because that was. I don't know what the reasoning was, but I do remember that was the thing people were hammering on her about, because she was everywhere. And I think she just took the advice. And I'm like, well, I understand taking a break, but maybe take a half a year or something if you're new.
Well, she did a long 1.5 year tour after the album came out. And then she stepped into movies because she did Dogma. Was a movie she was in. With
I saw
Silent Bob, and and then she did something else, and then she went on a break. I can remember the other one. Maybe it was a play or something like that. So she was kind of dabbling to see where her talent was, and then she released another album which didn't do so well.
Yeah,
it only had like 1 hit.
And I know she had that the short-term marriage with Ryan Reynolds that didn't go over well, and I do feel like people were hammering on her a lot about her looks. Like I'm not going to sit there and be like she's the most beautiful woman in the world, because that's not true. But they kept making it out like because she was so skinny that she was ugly. And I'm like, listen, you got both sides. There's some, I wouldn't call her beautiful, but she was pretty enough. Like sometimes charisma and character makes a person more attractive.
Yeah. I was thinking the exact same words. She's pretty enough. And she's
like she's pretty enough, and she had character and charisma, and she had a different style, which was nice. Oh yeah, it was refreshing to have something different. Don't get me wrong, I did need that break as a Canadian citizen. That's just my own problem. But I turned off the radio for a really long time. There was a long argument with me and them, and being like repetition and some people. But I've never held a grudge against anybody who did music back then, because they're not the ones who run the radio station, and they're not the ones calling in money, So I get what you're saying, Terry.
I like that she played God in Dogma. That was like
Yeah.
I was like, really great casting. I was like, Alanis Morissette as God. That's just like, who came up with that? I gotta go shake their hand. That's
Well,
awesome.
she does have a female Jesus look to her. If you really kind of
If they dress her up, yeah, and her general bone
Yeah.
structure of her face and how thin and long and lean her body is, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Kyler's right. She had a presence, and like I said, like not everybody needs to have the sculptured face. And to be quite honest, the stuff that they're doing lately, Monkey was kind of talking about it tonight. It is kind of a little bit alien. Like it's a little bit too alien.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, I'm not going to judge what other people think is beautiful because everybody has their own thing, but I'm not really too keen on the fake shit. I'm really not. I'm glad I'm a little bit old school, guys. Like I'm not saying that you shouldn't wear makeup, women, because you should, but like not all the time, and you don't need to resculpture your face all the fucking time because I don't think it's a good idea. And honestly, I'm waiting for the day that we see what happens when somebody's like 80 and then they made their face look like something weird.
Like they're 20?
Yeah.
You see on TikTok an awful lot where people are doing makeup tutorials and the person starting off is unfortunately not terribly stunning, and they do a quick cut to how they look after the makeup is done, and it's like that's not even the same person.
Yeah.
I've seen those.
It's like, how could you get from that to this? And then of course that woman's going to complain on TikTok about how guys never tell the truth. Sweetheart.
Well, it's not just it's not just that. It's how many filters they use too.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize the extent of how bad it was until, and I don't watch all that stuff all the time, but you watch the occasional video and people just point out like some of the biggest Instagram models are like not even who they say they are. Like they're literally catfishing people. And I'm just like, that sends a really bad message. Like, and yet again, I'm not trying to be that person who's like, yeah, think about the children. But no, seriously, think about the children because our children are kind of going cuckoo. Like our children don't know what to do because we're like sending mixed signals at left, right, and center. I'm like, you poor little shits. I feel for you. Like,
there's a lot of social networks available for kids now, for everybody now, and I am intensely on Twitter. If anybody even knows me, they know that I'm highly addicted to Twitter. And of course I'm on YouTube, where I wouldn't be broadcasting the show tonight, and I watch a lot of videos. I follow a lot of people, but I can't bring myself to create a TikTok account.
Fuck no.
With the back end being in China, or the data potentially being sent to China, I can't do Instagram. I can't do Snapchat. I'm happy with Twitter for communication and YouTube for videos, and that's as far as I ever really want to go. I mean, I may change providers if at some point Rumble gets to be on their feet, and we can broadcast on Rumble. It doesn't cost anything, because right now to broadcast, unless you're invited, if you broadcast on Rumble, you have to be invited for free. Like I know Matt and Blonde just got a free account, so they broadcasted their last Sunday show on Rumble for the first time. He's been uploading it, but they got to broadcast live. If Rumble ever takes off, man, I have no problems moving off of YouTube and going with Rumble.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm about the same as Hammer in that I have no use for Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or even Facebook. I mean, I used to be on Facebook, but then I lost interest.
I only really wanted Facebook for Farmville.
See, I used Facebook. At the moment, the only thing I use Facebook for is to talk to my siblings and my mother. And I don't do that often. It's like when it's someone's birthday, I'll send them a Facebook message saying happy birthday. That's what I use Facebook for.
I
never spent a penny on Farmville, but I did play it. Just,
I have a Facebook account, a personal account for my real person, on the platform that somebody created for me and said, here's your Facebook thing. And I don't think I've ever posted to it, but the person who created it for me was part of my friends group. So all of my friends are there. So I'm constantly seeing them posting stuff, and it's showing up on my, I guess it's called a timeline. I don't know. I don't use it. So I see posts going by all the time, and I kind of keep up on what they're doing, but I never actually post anything myself.
Yeah.
But every single person who's a friend of mine on Facebook is a leftist. Every single one of them.
Yes, same here.
So I'm not planning to ever really interact unless somebody came to me and said, "Hey, we're having a reunion," then maybe I would say something, but I'm not going to talk, because if I open my mouth and say one word, it's going to be, "I'm voting for Trump," or something like that. And they're just going to lose their minds, and I'm going to be kicked off, and I don't need all that.
Well, on my Facebook, the only thing that I really worry about is the fact that I have family on there. And honestly, I don't think anyone would be surprised about my opinions. Coworkers that I used to work with who are on there, I don't really give a shit if they care about my views. But I would just be more worried about people seeking out my family. And that's why I just avoid Facebook. Like, I haven't deleted it just because there's no point. But I like, it's not just my mom, it's like my cousins, and they are not even living in the same city as me or the same province as me. They have nothing to do with what I do on a regular basis. I haven't talked to them in like 6 years, so the last thing I want is some rando weirdo going after them and bothering them, like they've got kids and shit. So that's why I avoid Facebook. But I do some shit on Twitter, and honestly, I hate Twitter. It's not you guys. Like, if all I was doing on Twitter,
not. You love us.
I love you.
I love Twitter. Twitter is awesome. I don't know what you're talking about.
Every time I get on Twitter, I get stuck in between the people who don't know where they are, like legit don't know where they are. They're arguing like 2 different posts, and they don't know where the hell they are. Or I'm just like, I just read the most evilest thing I've ever seen. And it's just people dehumanize each other so easily. And it's not just the politics. Like, what you guys and Monkey do is like a breath of fresh air because it's funny.
See,
hopefully.
Yeah. People say that Twitter is cancer, and I say, yes, exactly. That's why it's great.
But
Twitter is what you make of it. If you follow people, you're going to find the best or the worst of people. So if you find people who are annoying or anything like that, just don't follow them or mute them.
That part's easy. Like, I just try to not read those posts if I can. Like, once I start seeing that that's where the thread's kind of going, I give up on that thread entirely, because I know that that's what that thread's going to be about.
I follow a very, I'm kind of the problem when it comes to Twitter. I don't follow very many people. There are people on Twitter who I should be following who I'm not, because I can't handle a timeline that's too full. If it starts to get to be a point where I can't keep track of where I am and whose post I read last and whose post is next, and what, I'm already boomer enough now, trying to keep track of threads and stuff like that puts me right at the edge. If I followed another 100 people, I would not be able to use the app at all anymore. So I'm kind of at my limit. So I have people who follow me that I should be following back that I'm not. I feel bad about it.
I follow so many accounts. I follow a crazy number of people on Twitter. Man.
I don't know how you do it. I follow you.
Well, what I do is there's people that I follow, and then there's people that I actually care about. And the people I care about, I set on notifications for every time they post. So if say Della posts something, I'll see it. But if say Ben Shapiro posts something, then maybe I'll scroll past it when I'm scrolling through, but I won't get notified, because I don't really care if I don't see everything Ben Shapiro posts. Whereas I would very much like to see the things that Della posts. So that's how I do it. I sort of, the people I want to make sure I don't miss anything, I set notifications for.
No, that's good.
There are certainly ways to tame it. I feel bad for you because we do most of my communications, even regardless of the show. But if you're following the right people, Twitter can be fun. I mean, it can be fun. Well, just follow me and Terry. You'll be fine.
The other thing too is a lot of what I was looking through at the time, and it's still stuff that I do. Is Twitter is one of those places where I can find information on what's going on up here, like what people are saying. Because we're kind of in the middle of a heated political battle of our own, and so I always go in that with my tongue already kind of pre-silenced, because it's politics. You're gonna find people are just gross when it comes to that kind of shit. Up here right now, it was pretty nice this week because like I felt like Maxime did kind of good. And I felt the conservatives did kind of good, and I felt like a lot of people were kind of poo-pooing on my prime minister, which made me feel really excellent for some reason. I don't know. I'm a very bad Canadian.
Does Maxine have a chance?
I don't think he has a chance in becoming a prime minister. I do think he has a chance of being a thorn in the side of the NDP. And that's going to be a thorn in the side of the Liberals, because the Liberals and the NDP are splitting each other up. They are both kind of the party of similar opinions, in all honesty. And so the NDP tends to prop up the Liberals, and they're not necessarily the biggest party, but they do hold about 19 to 20% of the vote. So if they're splitting up between the Liberals and the NDP, and Maxime is taking over for NDP, like he's kicking them out. At least where I am in Alberta, he's absolutely doing a pretty good job of kicking them out. That's going to leave less seats for the NDP alone. And the Conservatives have a good chance of getting at least a half a sweep, because a lot of people are just terrified of what they're doing, because it's so... These are the guys who want to point fingers at everybody else and call them a bunch of fascists. Well, everything that they do is fascist.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, we are not a new country. We put up with a lot of crap, but we're not going to let you do that. You know, like we already have enough reasonable people who are talking about doing the vaxes. We just don't want to do forced vaccines. We don't want to be putting locks onto children's. I don't want to see locks on bracelets for kids, you know, going to school. Like that's the last thing on the planet I ever want to see in my country. And I know that they're trying to do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I refuse. I'm sorry, I refuse to traumatize our generation because a couple of spurgs are terrified of a flu.
Yeah, it seems to me Maxine is a reasonable person.
I think he's a nice middle ground. And to be quite frank, it's kind of thumbsing the nose up in Trudeau's face, because he's all, I'm all a bit to Quebec. Well, here's Alberta, who is absolutely willing to vote for a Quebecois guy, because he's not acting like a traitor. He's not turning his back on me. He's willing to come to my province and talk to me. He's willing to come to my province and talk to me and try to make things work for us, because he understands that our government's kind of burying everybody, not just us, everybody. And they've split us apart. As far as a community that was really, really tight, I will still always stand by my neighbors. Like I'm still a proper Canadian. Like if Saskatchewan ever catches on fire, or BC, I mean, I'm not saying much about BC because I'm not a professional fighter, but like if they needed us to do that, I would do that in an instant. I would absolutely go up there and help people. You know, that's how we are. We're not too different from you guys in that sense.
Yeah.
But in terms of loyalty to each other, there's not a lot right now. We're just kind of looking at who's going to help us out the most. And I'm glad. That's what people should have been doing in the first place.
Yeah, he strikes me as a reasonable guy. And as I understand, David Fry, what you call Viva Fry, is
Viva
also
Fry,
is also in his party, and Viva's running now as
Yeah, I'm glad for him. I like him a lot. Yeah, he's a good.
Really would like to see him. He's a very reasonable guy too. So,
see, I told you, I would totally come to save you, Sora. There's no way. I'm just.
I feel bad for Canada, but I feel worse for Australia. I'll tell you that. I'm almost afraid to ask Terry anything because it's going to be bad news, man. I feel so bad.
Well, I'm actually glad that the thing about shooting the dogs is getting international attention, because it highlights just how fucked up things have gotten down here.
That's not going to go over very well, hopefully, because animal activists are crazy.
Yeah. But you don't have to be crazy to think it's unconscionable to shoot dogs just so people don't collect them from the pound because it's a COVID risk.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I agree with you. Normal people should be pissed off too. But I'm just saying that the animal activists are crazy. I mean, there's that one chick who's now banned from half of Australia because she was holding up a cut off pig's head.
Man.
Sorry, I don't know how I know that. I do too.
But you're not really affected that much, Terry, are you? You're a home person anyway, so all these lockdowns and curfews are like, so.
It was funny because I had my groceries delivered today. The guy saw me not wearing a mask, so he just sort of left them at the top of the stairs and left. He didn't like take them to my door. He just sort of looked at me, goes, sort of grimaced, and just left them on the stairs and left. I was like, okay, thanks.
I have the same. I have there's a company in the States, which I found out it's actually much bigger than I thought it was, but they service my area called Shipt, SHIPT. And you can pick where you want to get something from and just, do all the shopping, and they just drop it off. And I have a very large concrete porch at the front of the farmhouse. And I put in the directions at the bottom of Shipt, just leave it on the concrete part in front of the house. So they come and they pull up, open up the trunk, put all the stuff, and leave. And then I go out and get it. They never even see me. And they're perfectly, and just right there in the notes, just drop this off at the porch. Works out great. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about OnlyFans.
Oh yeah, they flipped their they're flip flopping a lot. I don't think that's gonna win for them though, because the thing is you've sent mixed messages to people, and the unfortunate thing with the internet is this isn't the first time that a site has flip flopped on something. And honestly, anybody who's running anything, don't just go to one platform anyway. I know that sounds like a lot of work, but like if you can manage to do more than one platform, do more than one platform.
I'm gonna drag the show notes over on top of my avatar. I don't know if this will work. No, it doesn't look like it's gonna work. I didn't want to really do the show notes, but my show notes actually say OnlyFans does the new Coke routine, which is to take something that's established and working well, pull something in that's not going to work, dump it, and use that as advertisements. See, we went back to what you wanted. Everybody come join us.
I understand where OnlyFans is coming from in that, like, their financing is reliant on them going clean, so to speak. Like they've got financial pressure to do this. They're not just randomly deciding, hey, fuck you guys, you're all whores anyway. We don't like you anymore. That's not what's happening.
They could fix it though. They could fix it because there's no reason they have to use American payment processors in the first place. There's 5 really good European and Russian payment processors that are available to the States that don't have any rules whatsoever, and it would be nothing to move.
That wasn't the only problem, though. The other problem was that they weren't just finding porn; they were finding child porn, and that's where they were getting iffy. Yeah. Because the minute you hear child porn, your money people are going, "No, thank you." And that's the thing. They're trying to fish that stuff out, and they really should have just said that. Like, we don't think you guys are posting child porn, but we have to really put everything on hold for a moment because we need to sort through this shit. And they didn't do that.
I'm sorry I interrupted you, Terry. What were you going to say?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. But with regards to the child porn thing, surely they can just do what Pornhub did and say you need to be verified. I mean, I would have imagined you would need to be verified to have an
anyway. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So show proof of your age. If you can prove that you're over 18 and it's a valid ID and all that stuff, then you can do what you want because you are not a child. If there's an unverified account, then get verified and then we'll talk. You can put up before you can put stuff up.
It worked for Pornhub.
Yeah. Like I said, it's one of those things where I think the management just really mismanaged it. Honestly, they should have just been like, "Listen, we kind of need to tighten up how we go about assessing who people are, so that we make sure that we're not getting child porn." Fine. Most people who are signed up to there should be okay with that. I would think. Like a lot of those girls just do posing, whatever. I wouldn't want to be associated with child porn either. Sorry.
But I do think the whores are overreacting and
they are.
Well,
like
at
some
this
of them
point,
are saying, some of them are saying we want our 20% of our money that you took as like a fee. We want that back. It's like, that's not how this works. They spent it like on managing the site and
it's like, give me back the
maintaining servers.
150 subscribers I lost over this. Okay, listen, lady, it takes a week, you'll get them back.
That might have been a reason why they turned around as well. Oh, we're going to face all these lawsuits if we don't, go back to letting them do what they want. Maybe it's just better if we just pull back on it.
It's a Gundam did a video on the whole thing. That's a good video. If you're interested in the OnlyFans thing, check his. I think he did too. Check his videos out. He's
he's good. I like him. I haven't watched his latest one, but I like him. He's funny. I like his accent. I'm not gonna lie.
But he was saying that YouTube takes 45% of his revenue, and he's mystified that they've got the balls to complain about OnlyFans taking 20. I would shoot my mother for 20%.
They only take 20% of super chats, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
I think it's 30. I think it's 30.
It's 30 for
and then
super chat.
Streamlabs takes what, 10 or 15 or something like that?
I think it's actually really, really low. I think that's the whole reason that they push Streamlabs instead of super chat is it's 2%, not 30. It's drastically lower.
And you get it right away too. It's you get it in your thing in an hour or something instead of it every 30 days. YouTube gives it to you every 30 days. Yeah, that didn't sound very good.
Yes.
YouTube gives it to you every 30 days, but Streamlabs you get it in an hour. It's like somebody depositing something in your bank account. It's
that too.
See, now for some of these girls, I really kind of wonder about that. So one of the other fellows that I watch kind of went through how much some of these girls make. And I can understand feeling grief when, say you're making, say you're ungodly and you're making 10 grand a month or something. And you see 20% of that go. I mean, I understand that that's how that works, but that's still going to piss me off.
I take the same view as Scribe, but he doesn't mind the 30% taken from his super chats because they're running the servers.
They are. You're right.
Pay for that shit.
You're not wrong. I still get the grief, but that's just how it is.
If I was making money on YouTube and I had to hand 30% over for their cut, it's that's fair. I mean, it's their site that is allowing me to make money, or would be allowing me to make money.
And it's offering you all the things that you get on that site, which is the privacy. In all honesty, they're getting the privacy, or at least some. You're hopefully getting some kind of security from that site, so it's a little bit safer. So you're getting something from it.
Well, my question to the ethos would simply be, what is stopping you from having your own website instead of doing it through OnlyFans? If the answer is all the exposure, all double entendre, not actually intended that time.
Sure.
But if it's exposure to more people, if it's a simplicity of using the website, all that stuff that makes OnlyFans better than just doing your own website, that is what you're paying for.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's cheaper and easier just to go with OnlyFans, and there's a brand name there. So there's enough reason to go for OnlyFans, except, a lot of people still have websites. Lauren Chan has her own website. Matt Christian has his own website. They all have their own stuff. But I think if you really want to get exposure, especially for that part of the industry, what the left people call sex work, that's totally fine. And my only question about OnlyFans is, can you set up an OnlyFans account that does not require you to pay?
No, I'm saying what I'm trying to
Yes, you
say.
can.
What I'm trying to say is these girls are starting to understand what reality is, and they're starting to understand what the tax man is. And I know that this is a different way of explaining the tax man to them, but the tax man does his job because it makes everything else run. And they're grumbling because they've just faced reality. And yes, regardless of the fact that you have to legally pay your taxes, it still sucks.
OnlyFans allows you to do live streams?
I don't know about live streams, but you definitely can have a free account, because I watch ASMR, and a lot of the time they show OnlyFans in the description. And one of the ones I saw was this is the paid account. This is the free sort of trailer site. So if you want to, if you don't want to pay, you go to this OnlyFans and you can see trailers for what I've got the full versions of on the paid site.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, you absolutely can do a free OnlyFans if that's what you want.
If they did live streaming, really, what's the need for YouTube or Rumble? Because you can say anything you want on OnlyFans.
Oh, for sure.
Make a free stream and just broadcast there only. I don't see a reason why you would not, because you're totally free to say anything. You want to say something about the coof or anything, you can just say whatever you want. That'd be beautiful.
I had to explain that one to my mom. She's like, "Why do you keep saying the coof?" And I'm like, "Listen, Mom, when you're on the internet, you don't just say what it is." And I was like, "It sounds like a cough, right? So it's like a coof."
Well, the first time I heard that ever on the net was the quartering. Jeremy was calling it the coof. And I was like, oh, he means that other word that begins with C that's in the news. I get it. And then other people started using it. I was like, okay, well, that apparently is the way to say it now. So
isn't a coof also another word for like a coup d'etat?
I don't know. I
had never heard that.
I haven't heard that one.
But yeah, that's the first place. Hi, I'm Jeremy from the quartering. That's just that's the first place I heard it, and then I saw Lauren Chen was using it, and I saw Ruben was using it. I was like, okay, well, apparently this is what everyone's using it as a way to get around, because they're using S3X when you want to talk about sex. You know, they'll find a way by changing letters and changing words that mean other words. You can't stop it.
Of course not.
Because what happens if they go after the word coof? Okay, we'll call it something else. You'll have to go after that, and then we'll call it something else.
Like you were saying with sex, so many channels I've seen refer to it as bedroom fun rather than sex, because they know that if they say sex too many times in their video, it gets demonetized.
Yep. And the thing that kills me is the algorithm is smart enough to know that if you upload a video and you bleep out a word, that it hears that you bleeped out the word and will still knock you for it anyway. So you hear that every once in a while, that beep, where they talk over something and they cut you out. That is the same as actually saying the word, because they know you've cut it out on purpose. If you just turn the volume down, then that who is it? Is it Barb? Somebody uses a quacking duck anytime. Anytime she says a word,
it's a Gundam. It's a Gundam uses the quack for his censorship.
Yeah, I think Blair just cuts the audio entirely. I mean, there's ways that you're getting around it. If beeping doesn't work, then there'll be just another way to get around it.
I gotta get used to doing that. I do.
What do you mean? Using other words or getting around it, or?
Yeah, like using swear words like a parent does with their kids, so that they're not actually using the swear word, but they still have something that makes them feel like they're swearing, just because I do that online. Like, you know, there are times where I come on here and it's just, I might have read something really stupid or whatever. Or if I was hanging out with people who use the F-bomb a lot, sometimes I parrot a little bit.
I'm only ever on channels that aren't monetized and pretty much have no chance of ever being monetized. So it doesn't really matter too much if I say a few naughty words here and there.
I don't mind people in the heat of the moment using words to express themselves. But when the humor gets a little too raunchy for me, I get uncomfortable. Like when I go on some broadcasts like Quippers United and stuff like that, they're a little too raw for me. You know, I still have fun. I enjoy, you know, the games, but every time somebody makes a reference to the things that people with yarmulkes breathe, I kind of go, do I really want my name here while they're saying these things?
No, that's actually a completely valid thing. Like, I would not begrudge anyone if they're like, yeah, you know, I don't want my name associated with the kind of stuff you guys talk about. Like that is a completely fair position. I don't hold that against anyone.
I'll do it because I really don't care that much about it. but it does make me wince a little bit every time I hear it. Like if I was to go on with Barry again and do a live stream with him, and he talks like an Australian, and he will use the C word, what we would consider a high insult. He uses as a matter of common speech, and a lot of people from Australia do. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But if somebody in America did it, I'd be like, I don't want to be here. You know?
I'm not going to lie. I do say that word more often because I do hang out with a lot of Aussies. But, you know, the Brits do it too. So
I wouldn't have a problem with you doing it.
Yeah. But it's just this thing where I kind of took the word back in my own way. Because, like, I remember that was a thing that, like, someone would just get absolutely aggravated about the word, and I was like, listen, it really depends on the context of the word. Like if somebody is using that word with you in mind and they are being grossly hurtful with it, then absolutely take offense to it. But if somebody is just a little bit of slang, it's not meant to as anything rude, and sometimes the guys are using it against each other in certain contexts because they're making fun of each other. But you know, like I said, it's all about the context and what's being used. I don't have a problem with it. And it's just my generation grew up with that mind thinking, and they can't just rewire everybody. Like they can rewire some kids because they're dumb, but I did grow up in a world where I'm not saying that I used F-bombs all the time, because I didn't, because I've always believed that there are actually more powerful words out there in the dictionary that hold a lot more strength than the F word. But I do admit that sometimes it just feels nice to say shit or something. You know, like if you drop something on your toe.
It's perfectly okay on this channel and with Minions in general, as far as I know. I can't speak for all the hosts, but it's perfectly okay to say fuck here. That's not a big deal. Just not within the first 30 seconds because the algorithm doesn't like it. But after 30 seconds, if you want to say it, that's fine with me. I don't care about shit or you can name the curse that you want. But the ones that have a quote unquote history behind them, like the C word, as a girl, if you want to say that, even if you want to say that about another girl or a guy, I don't care. You're allowed to. And technically I'm allowed to as well, as far as I say it, but I don't feel comfortable doing it. And if Terry wants to use it, he's Australian, he gets the pass, you know? And if I was a black guy, I would get the N-word pass. I get all that, I'm fine with it. It's just my personal feeling on it. I have the right, if I want to use the N-word, I have the right to say it right here, right now. But I'm not gonna, because it makes me feel uncomfortable, not because it makes anyone else feel uncomfortable.
My only rule with the N-word is it's spelt with an ER. I don't have any patience for people who spell it with an A and then think they're not being offensive. Say what you mean. If you mean the N-word, spell it properly. Don't pretend you're using the inoffensive version because you misspelled it. No, spell it right.
Got an ah at the end. Sorry, we call that an R. You guys call it an ah.
Yeah, for me the N-word has two stories to it. The one is my one time when I was 8 and I had to do this study on Nigeria. And for some reason, I don't know why, I thought people were just ragging on the Nigerians. And I took up war for the Nigerians because I learned that that's where chocolate came from. And I was like, Lord forbid somebody gets in between me and the wonderful people who grow chocolate. So I was like, war!
Well,
and then I learned what the actual word meant, and I was like, okay, well, in context, that means something different, but, you know, I tell that story to the odd black person, and they think it's really cute, so.
I watch MXR Plays. It's a channel, I think I mentioned it last time, and it's Henry and Jeannie, and they're Asian. I think Jeannie's Korean. I'm not sure what Henry is, but I don't know. In any case, there is a word in Korean that we would pronounce as the middle part of your leg, and then G-A-H. That's how they pronounce it. And if you're not careful saying that word, it could look really bad. And they mention it on the stream, and they say it over and over and over again. I'm saying to myself, I'm sitting in the seat saying, don't say that, don't say it, don't say it. But they're still saying it. And to them, it's just their language, you know? But if you don't understand the context, you know, the YouTube algorithm, do you really tell the YouTube algorithm, oh, these people are Asian? Is that really in there? I don't think so. So he said it didn't get pulled off. They didn't lose the video. It's still there, but it got demonetized.
Yeah, I'll say this much. I've seen channels where they are black people and they're using the N-word freely, and like they've got 1 million+ subscribers. So clearly the algorithm is giving them some sort of like permission to use the word. So maybe you can say, okay, in this instance, we'll allow this channel to use the word because of ethnicity reasons.
Cynic says Henry's Chinese from Taiwan. Is that correct? Am I reading that right? I know he's Asian. I just didn't know where he's from. But Ginny's Korean. It sounds about right. I know he wasn't Japanese, and I really don't know my Asian cultures that well. But anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I was just saying good night to Sora, and I type a little bit slow. But the other silly one that I had as a kid, and yet again, maybe I was just a really naive kid, and I honestly just thought the world was a lot nicer than I. Once reality sets in and you realize it's not as nice. But I used to think that when they were calling us a cracker, that they were referring to the drug abusers.
Oh, well, that's a word that has different meanings in different places too. So, for somebody who doesn't understand, it's just the same thing as a biscuit would be over in the UK. It's a cracker.
I told the. Do you remember the original Devil's Advocate, the black guy who used to go by that handle? Yeah, I told him that. He thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. And then he got mad at me because he's like, "Why is your insult better than mine?" I was like, I don't know. I hung out in a really bad area when I moved out of home. And there's a lot of crackers.
It doesn't offend me in the least.
No.
I don't think any white person is offended by that term.
No.
And maybe that's the reason why it never is used against anybody, because if someone were to call us crackers, they're just like, all right, no. We don't care.
No, but when it was used against you, it was having the context of The Rock being involved, it might.
I guess. I mean, I'm a very... my views when it comes to that kind of stuff is I have no problem with whatever sex stuff is happening as far as sex works and all that kind of stuff. But I'm very, very much anti-drug, and I don't even think that would even bother me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, the area I was in, honestly, that's why it occurred to me that's what it was, because I was surrounded by so many people on different drugs that I'd never had any experience with this. Like at best, I'd gone through, high school programs where they're like, "Yo, watch a little 30-minute program. Don't do drugs, kids." Like the counselor from South Park levels of "Don't do drugs, kids," to you're living downtown and there's a hooker on every other block, and they're gonna come into your store on different things. So on a regular basis, I was experiencing somebody having an episode and not knowing what to deal with it. Sorry, I'm not meaning to whine. It's just when if you've ever been through that. my boss used to tell me stuff too. He was he used to be one of the head queens for the gay community in my city. And so he used to work for one of the gay bars, and he was like, "Yeah, the thing is I know what they're on, so this guy's fine. Watch him like a hawk."
Well, I just found it interesting, getting back to the topic, that OnlyFans is doing what they're doing. And if they take the next steps, really, why would you bother with YouTube or Rumble or any of that kind of stuff? Because it becomes a free speech platform. I don't think anybody, say Minions were to move to OnlyFans on a free channel, I think everybody would just come with us. I don't think there'd be any
maybe
problem.
Not everyone, but like the regulars, a lot of the regulars would be quite happy to move across. The sort of the occasional drop buyers probably would miss the announcement or not really care that much. But the regulars who are in chat, multiple times a week, I'm sure like a good proportion of those would be like, "Hey, I just want to watch the show. I don't care what website it's on."
I can multicast this show. We only do YouTube, but I'm not going to bother with DLive because they've proved to be jerks. So I'm not interested in them. Yeah. And you can't really do anything with most of the other platforms. So I'm just going to sit there and wait until Rumble comes up. And if I get to a point, or they get to a point where uploading to them is free, I'll multicast to Rumble.
I actually support that entirely. At best, the only thing that you'll have to do is make sure that people help with sharing, because I find that with the split platforms, that's the biggest issue. Is not everybody is on the same sites where stuff like that is shared, and a lot of times people will have notifications for YouTube or the YouTube videos that they watch. That stuff pops up in your corner, so you will catch those on occasion. But unless you're using the Twitter, or like I prefer Discord, because I talk to people a lot when I play games. So I use that for my like channels that I really like. I've got, Eve's channel always shows pretty much everybody in our community. But I share everywhere, and
Yeah.
there was a time where I shared on Discord all the time, but I'm not gonna lie, most people don't like Discord the way that they like Twitter.
Yeah.
Which is why I have Twitter, because that's where that's why I share everything on there.
And we appreciate that. You
Yeah.
and Kiever Dam, and there's a lot of people out there who share the show, even like me and Terry. Terry more than I do, because I'm busy setting up the show, but it's more, it would be, at this point, I've gotten the show set up pretty straightforward. I can also tweet out the show, and there's a lot of people following me, so that would help. But
it's the biggest help when it comes to changing the platforms, because a lot of times Twitch sometimes is really kind of like, it can still connect to everything to do automatic notifications, but like YouTube, sometimes it's a pain in the dick too.
yeah.
And DLive was like that. Actually, DLive didn't really share at all. Like, you had to do everything manually or get your friends to do it. And then they updated.
What was the issue with DLive? Hammer said they were jerks. What did they do?
They sold out to China.
Details? What happened?
Yeah, no, they Beauty and the Beast, which is now Matt and Blonde show, was doing them.
Beauty and the Beta, you mean, not Beauty and the Beast.
Oh yeah, Beauty and the Beta. Sorry about that. Beauty and the Beta is now Matt and Blonde show. Used to multicast to them, and they took their they demonetized their channel.
Oh, okay.
So and they were like, they didn't just demonetize it, they were dicks about it.
Oh, right.
You'd have to go back to Matt and ask him what the details were. I'm sure if you go on his website, it's probably there somewhere. MattChristianMedia.com. But
that will always be Beauty and the Beta. They can pretend it's called something else now, but it's not.
Not really sure why they changed it. I mean, she's a mom now. Maybe that's the beauty part of it, and he's not really a beta anymore. He's gotten quite alpha, so maybe it doesn't fit anymore. But
isn't he engaged or married or something?
Yeah.
And
expecting as well. He's got a kid on the way.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that kind of shoots the beta thing in the foot.
I guess. I don't know. I don't think they ever in any of their broadcasts sat right down and said why.
Well, okay, I'll say this: if the kid is his, then it shoots the whole beta thing in the foot.
Someone sent him a picture like Milo did to Ben Shapiro. You probably wouldn't appreciate that. No.
Probably not.
Yeah,
Sputgun's like China.
And there's something we don't really know much about either one of their spouses, because neither spouse has been on the air, not even in voice.
But I think that's a good thing.
My girlfriend hasn't been on the air either, so I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah, no, but unless they're part of the show, like, you generally want to keep your private life private. Like, if I had a girlfriend, I would not be saying, "Oh, we need to get you on every stream that I do." It's like, no, it's like, unless you want to stream, then like, but no, I think if you're the, I don't want to say famous, but the well-known, the public figure. If you're the public figure, I think you kind of owe it to your family to keep them out of it, unless they explicitly say they want to be involved.
Yeah, she specifically said that she never wants to be involved. She never wants to be on mic. She doesn't want to see her picture. Nothing.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any real social media. She has a Facebook account that she uses for work, but it's her work Facebook account. She doesn't have a personal one. And she said, "No, I don't want to be on microphone. I don't want you." When she wants to talk to me and I'm broadcasting, like now, she would poke her head in, she would wave to me, and that would be the only thing. And she closed the door and she'd walk away. And that's her note to me that she's saying that she needs me for one reason or another. And then after the show's done, then I go talk to her. But she won't actually say, "Hey, I need you," because she doesn't want her voice on the microphone.
No, and I think that's completely fair.
I give her shit about it pretty regularly. I'm like, the hell's the problem with you? You know, why can't you just say something in the background? It's not a big deal. They don't know who you are. I don't want. Okay, all right, whatever. It's not worth arguing
No,
about.
I mean,
I want to get laid tonight. I'll just shut up.
but it's the same with Ben Shapiro. Has, apart from stating that his wife is a doctor, has shared very little details about her, because he doesn't want her to get the same attention that he gets. Because she didn't sign up for that, and he knows what people are like. Anyone who's got a grievance against him is going to go after his wife too. So
Yeah. Well,
he's deliberately kept the minimum amount of information about her.
He's public with her though, because you can see pictures on Google. Just say Ben Shapiro, and half the pictures will be him standing with his wife for photo shoots. So
I didn't realize. I've never seen her.
She's pretty. She's almost the same height as he is.
That's pretty funny.
But she's a very attractive young lady, and very accomplished. She's a doctor. We all know that. So yeah, I know. If she doesn't want to, that's perfectly fine with me.
Yeah.
But Jen said she's going to start an OnlyFans and put her face out.
Oh,
there,
no, I'm not. Well, not necessarily, no. Not OnlyFans anyway. It's one of those things where I am thinking about doing some streams where I put my face on stream. Just because, like, I know with the Lords being gone, people kind of got used to Satsu doing that, or sometimes SDA doing that, and I lost a bunch of weight. So there's this little part of me who's kind of like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to pat myself on the back. Screw y'all. Not that anyone's going to blame me for that part, but honestly, I wouldn't mind exploring that a little bit, but I'm also not that brave. So like, there's no thought in me, honestly. There's no instance of wanting to thoughteree. At best, I have joked about maybe doing something like, because I've lost 100 pounds almost, like, I kind of fluctuate 3 pounds, but I did think about like demonstrating some of the stuff that I've been doing. Like I have been switching up different exercises, quite frequently, because you can't do the same thing all the time, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal for me to maybe someday set something like that up where, okay, these are the 10 different things that I'm doing today, and give people some inspiration. That I wouldn't mind doing. I don't know that I would necessarily do that on an OnlyFans, because that you don't need to do that on OnlyFans. You can do that on a lot of places. Like, I could join Satsu on Instagram with that, because he posts, some of his family photos on there, some of his cooking stuff on there. And that to me would be a little bit more realistic, because then I have a little bit more control over what I'm wearing.
Right.
Yeah, I go by Genty Maxi.
Some people don't have a problem with of course, asking their significant others, because like Terry said, we see Squishy on there on his show, and hear her, and we hear Lady Monkey in the background, so I mean, Scribe has had his sister on, so some people are okay with it. So it's just a matter of what they want to do, as long as you respect what the other person wants. She knows when I'm broadcasting, because my voice is loud enough that she can hear before she comes in that I'm talking. So she knows not to say anything. So it works out. She's a smart girl. Staying off the air is probably a smart thing.
It really is, because the amount of times where I'm just like, I don't really remember what I said 5 years ago. I don't doubt some of it's probably incriminating in some way, at least where I live. I know definitely it probably is. Even if it wasn't bad, or even a joke, it was probably a joke, but up here, you can't hide under that clause anymore. Not everything is a joke. And I'm like, a lot of things are. My life sometimes.
Almost everything can be a joke.
Well, I kind of made it not a purpose, but a rule when I first started getting on the net and started talking, is to say nothing and infer everything. Because they can't kill you for what you infer. They can only kill you for what you say. I'm
going to be that guy. It's imply.
Imply. That's infer, imply. Same basic idea.
Yeah.
Not quite. There is an important difference.
I don't know if either one can really get you in trouble.
See, I would agree with you up until 2015, when all of a sudden I was like, you know what, fuck this noise. I jumped onto mines, and then somebody linked me at Discord, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start talking to people because this political shit was getting weird.
I'm looking at the dictionary definitions of these because infer means to deduce or conclude information from evidence and reasoning rather than from explicit statements.
So if you imply something, I would have to infer what you meant.
Okay, imply, strongly suggest the truth or existence of something not expressly stated. So maybe imply is a better word than infer.
It is. Like, if you're the one speaking, you are implying. If you're the one listening, you are inferring.
Ah, okay. Wrong word. I stand corrected. I will go with that mantra from now on, is to say nothing but imply everything.
Yes.
I had to giggle a little because Mr. Adam had to point out how lucky we were to have our avatars in the position they were in.
What, girl on top? Is that what you're saying?
No, having the fox on top, so it doesn't look like it's being stomped on by like a foot and a hammer.
Oh, right.
We do have potentially violent avatars, don't we? It's the patriarchy.
I would like
that was of no. You know, it's funny. It was of no specific order. When I created that screen, I was like, grab one, grab two, grab three. Now who goes where? And when I created them in the spots that they were. So I didn't mentally say, oh, well, I must put this person here or put that person there. They just happened to be the parts of the screen I grabbed. Oh, this is this circle. That'll go there. And then eventually when we got together, I was like, okay, that avatar, and just change the actual image. But that's randomly put that way. The only thing I can say is when I was doing it is that the only thing that got my ears, I should probably be on the bottom. Because we're all hosts here, but I'm technically the host, although you guys are co-hosts. I want you to feel that you are equal to me in every way. So I didn't want to put myself on top. That would be like saying, like, this is my broadcast, my channel, and these people are just here.
So Jennifer's broadcast.
It really is Jennifer's broadcast. It's the girl. You always give the girl the top billing first. Unless it's the movies. So yeah, I thought that was the safest way. And if you look in the whatchamacallit, the description of the show, it's the hosts. It doesn't say host and co-host. It says hosts, and it has all three of your names, and it has you two first and me last. Because I want you guys to know that you're every much a part of the show as I am. Aw.
It's good. It's good to, be on equal footing, sort of.
Hey, Adam's in chat. Sorry. Hey, Adam's in chat. Hey, Adam. Yeah, I just didn't feel comfortable.
Mr. Adam to you?
That's Mr. Adam to me. I know. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I didn't really like to use StreamYards as a pure broadcasting channel, because whoever enters the show first, the guy who creates the stream, is always on the left-hand side. So that always kind of, you read left to right. So it makes the guy on the left-hand side kind of the default, and everybody to the right is less. So that's one of the reasons behind me not using Streamlabs as the broadcasting software. I'd much rather use OBS. Did you have now that we're at the end of the show, did you guys have a chance to look at the avatars on the show tonight?
Yeah.
What did you think of the very, very rudimentary names? We need to change those, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. That is my name.
I like the sigh in your voice. Yeah.
I mean, like I said before the stream, my sense of aesthetics is basically none. It looks fine to me, but my opinion should not carry much weight.
Okay.
I think the only thing that I would ask is that you shorten Jennifer to Jen, just because most people know me by the Gen T Maxi, and also Jennifer is usually what I'm referred to when I'm in trouble.
Okay. Yeah. I totally, now that I think about it, it makes sense because I didn't put Terrence in there.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to put Jennifer in there. If I'm going to call you Terry, I should call her Jen or Jenny.
Maybe we could just go the opposite way, have the full name, so it'd be like the one-time hammer. We don't have enough
room on the screen. Terry Donovan, should be all be in the chat before your name ends. For Christ's sake. I can do it. I can do it.
No, I don't. I think that would be terrible.
How do you feel about
do the
Jenny?
short versions.
Yeah, how do you feel about Jenny?
People might confuse me for Jenna.
Oh, Jenna P, you're right. That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Jenna,
I think
Jenna
Jenny's what she's known as. I
Okay.
mean, as far as I can see.
I can use Gen T Maxi if that, anything you want, sweetheart, anything you want.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever's easier. It's just just to shorten the name a little bit, just so.
Okay. I'll do that next time. We have to come up with appropriate colors too, and then of course the chat bubbles I'm still working on, but that works. So, all right. Well, unless you guys have anything else.
No. The only thing I wanted to talk about was the shooting of the dogs, which we covered. So I'm good.
Well, we can talk about that a little bit because it's something that definitely bothered me when I heard it. And I was thinking to myself, if that happened in the States, there would be, oh my God.
Yeah.
The uproar would be ridiculous. I imagine it's pretty bad in Australia because it happened there and we're pissed about it.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm glad it's getting international attention.
Well, I mean, you guys are known as being animal lovers. Like, I mean, I don't mean that in a weird way, but like Australians,
okay.
like you're supposed to, like my outlook on you growing up was always just that, like, you do tend to take care of your surroundings and nature. Like, I mean, your government is built around it.
Yeah.
So like, it's not like you guys don't have a fair love of animals. Like when the animals were burning last year, there were people who were mourning that shit. So the idea that you're going to be okay with people just shooting dogs.
Oh no, I was horrified when I heard about it. It's like that is unconscionable. I don't know how anyone could justify that to themselves. That, well, the only safe thing to do to prevent the spread of COVID is murder a bunch of dogs. It's the only way. Like that's just absurd on the face of it.
Well, they're shooting people with less than lethal ammo. That whole thing with the babies not being able to get medical care because they couldn't cross state lines. I
saw them run someone over with a police car, and then kick them in the head because they weren't wearing a mask or some shit.
That stuff would not fly here. I don't care if it's progressives or not. That would not fly here. That would be George Floyd stuff. That would just blow up like crazy.
Yeah, I don't know why so many Australians are on board with this. It's terrifying, the level of police abuse that is going on.
And the antipathy, they don't care.
Yeah, they just
apathy.
Don't seem to. Yeah, they don't seem to be all that bothered. I've got friends who are actively supporting the lockdowns. Like, they think they're good. Like, how can you possibly look at everything that's available on the issue and think, yeah, all the increased suicides and depression and mental health problems and all the damage to the economy, that's worth it for a couple hundred cases of a disease that has a survival rate in the high 99s.
Not to mention all the other deaths that have occurred since then that get pretty much ignored.
Yeah, no, I don't know how anyone can look at the lockdowns and say these are working, these are good, but so many people in Australia are like, yeah, no, we should definitely be locking down. Are you crazy? I don't want to get COVID. Like, it's maddening.
I was talking to Assassin here because his point is, the Aussie cops better not be surprised when the people start shooting at them unprovoked.
Yeah, we won't be doing that. We don't have a lot of guns down here in Australia.
No guns. Yeah, I tweeted about this the other day. I was like, it's what's happening in Australia could never happen here because the populace is armed. For all the shit that America gets from the UK and Canada and Australia, and nothing against you guys, but you do give us a lot of shit about the fact that we have a lot of guns and there's school shootings and you guys go on and on about it. The fact is, when tyranny happens, and you see it happening now, and so does Canada, it can't happen here because as soon as it does, everybody here has a gun.
Yeah, I mean,
and a lot of people have more than one. So,
But I will like Australia never had a lot of guns. Like even before the gun buyback, there weren't that many guns in the country. It's just we never had a gun culture the way the US does. It's just never happened.
Nobody does. Nobody does. Nobody had to fight for their freedom like we did. We're the only ones. Nobody has this. No country. Russia, China, any Western country. Nobody does. We're the only people who had to fight for it. I don't want to get on a big soapbox here, but Canada and Australia were handed their independence. Here you go. Have a nice day. See you later. We had to die. Yeah. So we're coming from two different places. But we both have Western values. This is what makes me so angry. I am born and bred here. I am centrist with a little bit right leaning. If I were to move like Punisher did to Australia, I would be in jail. There's no way I would put up with any of this. I'd be screaming my lungs out down there. You know, and I've been looking for ways to
arm yourself,
Yes. I was going to say defend myself because Susan's always listening. So.
and no shade. Like,
defensively, Susan.
I mean, I'm not saying that I've legit thought about it, but yeah, there's been times where like just being scared by the media has made me think about things like, how do I make a weapon for myself to defend myself?
You can still get weapons.
Yeah, we can. But like it was just like things like what kind of stuff could I do that I could do that wouldn't be as noticeable? Like, you know, easy enough to make like a wood crank so that I could make something that's like a rotary, you know, like something that I can hide a little bit better or that I can arm a little bit better. Because our guys are so weird lately that I don't think like that. Like I like to think of myself as the person who's a good neighbor, you know, or at least try. Well, I'm probably not a good neighbor. I try to be a good neighbor. I'm a little loud sometimes and I'm klutzy. But you know, I would still do my best to try to help out my neighbor if it was something I could do.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't want to sound like a crazy person here, but I have wondered from time to time, where on my lawn can I plant explosives?
Yep.
Just in case, you know, start getting people walking up my driveway that I don't want here. You know, it's come to mind. You know, I haven't done any digging yet, but it has crossed my mind. You know, what would I do? How can I protect myself? I'm not really too concerned about me, but you know, if something happens, I'm going to drive over to my mom's house because I'm going to want to protect my family, and my girlfriend's going to have to come with me, and we're going to hole up there because my mom's too old to really travel. I don't want her out at the farm. So, you know, when I think about where to put stuff, I'm thinking about where on her lawn to put it, not mine. So. And it's not something I think about often. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a nutball here. But like I said, once or twice, it has crossed my mind. When I hear something particularly egregious going on, I think to myself, man, can I put something on the outside of the house that would just blow that way? And, you know, just my mind gets going. It's probably not a good thing to admit to, but
to be honest,
FBI will be here tomorrow.
Yeah, to be honest, I was watching a lot of zombie movies for that reason. Just because even though it's a different situation, that feeling of wanting to try to hole up or hide or just try to avoid it until things calm down, like that feeling's still there too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I don't want to think like that, but like if I had a band of a bunch of crazy people who just have lost the plot, yeah, I'm gonna take the people that I care about and be like, fuck off, you know.
Well, if it sounds like I'm scared, it's because I'm scared. So, Jenna, is there anything you wanted to talk about before we got out of here?
Well, nothing too big. Like I said, I do have some hopes for Maxime Bernier. Like I'm not saying that nothing's really seriously going to happen. I don't think he's going to be the next prime minister. That one I will say for sure. But if he can kick the NDP in the pants really, really hard, I would enjoy that a lot. That would make my day.
Good. Is he like Colleen Bernier's like uncle or something?
He's kind of like the Liberals' kryptonite, and also he's kind of a bit of a thorn in our conservative side because our conservatives are playing so much middle ground that they're losing both sides. Honestly,
that happens.
So.
That's why our independents never make it anywhere. It's because they're right in the middle of the left and the right, so nobody votes for them.
Yeah, that's kind of why I want Maxine. Like, I don't doubt that O'Toole will probably end up getting it, just because there's too many splits all around. But if Maxime can be enough of a thorn in the side of everybody there to remind them that, yes, Canadians can shift, and we might be, because they're not listening to enough people. And the people that they seem to listen to the most only really seem to care about a certain population or a certain amount of the population. And that's getting really, really frustrating. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We got another month.
Yeah, we're kind of weird about all this kind of stuff, because between the three of us, America is the least like either one of your governments.
Mm-hmm.
We just have two parties, and that's it. You guys have multiple parties, and I know that in Australia, their voting system is completely different from ours. They don't pick one or the other; they pick a preference.
No, yes, but I mean, we effectively only have two. Like, it's always going to be Labor or Liberal. They're always going to be the ones. One of those two is always going to be the one that wins.
But people actually vote for your Greens and stuff, don't they?
Yeah, but because of the preference system, there's no wasting of votes, so to speak.
Right.
You can vote for the party that you actually want, say the Greens, and then you can have like the major party, like the Labor Party, would then be your next preference, so that you're voting for the Greens, but then your vote will get sent to the Labor Party because that was your second preference.
Right. Greens aren't going to make it, so we'll give it to the next one. If they don't make it, we'll send it to the third one, that kind of deal.
Yes, exactly.
Is that how it is with you, Jen, or do you get...
No.
No, you're like us. You get to vote once, and that's it.
You vote for your guy in your city, and your guy, basically whoever has the most seats ends up with the prime minister. So it'll end up being the leader of the party will be the federal prime minister. So cities to towns, we all get our votes, and then it's counted up, and every province gets a set amount. So I think we get can't remember last time. I think we get like 33. It's really unfair. So Ontario and Quebec probably alone gets about a third of the votes all around, if not half, just because their population is the way it is. They have more seats because of the population.
Isn't it funny that we have three different ways of doing this, and all three generally work for the three different countries?
Yeah.
Not wild?
And at some point, we all had fingers that came from Europe, and we're like, well, okay, so what like we had some good ideas. Why?
Maybe that's why we're so strict with ours, is that we're the least like Europe.
Yeah, you did. You guys were like,
fuck you.
Fuck you.
Yes, that's exactly right. I'm putting up my finger to my screen as you're saying it. That's funny.
Like there was so much fuck you from you guys that it was funny. Actually, I think as Canadians we enjoyed that a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's not that we didn't understand. It's just I think that our ties to our families were stronger. I do. I'm not saying that as shit towards you guys. I'm just saying that as somebody who still has a fairly good personal relationship with some of my European cousins, even though we're 8 generations apart.
Mm-hmm.
I've never talked to them before in my life. I still know I still can obtain their phone number because my dad has talked to them. Like, we still have that connection.
Yeah. And
not everybody holds on to that. Like, a lot of people kind of went through this rush over, I'd say the last 20, 30 years, there was kind of a rush of people going, well, where am I actually from? Because everyone was just like, oh, I'm Irish, or oh, I'm Scottish, or I'm something or the other. But like, you don't really know. And it was kind of a nice journey for my grandfather and my dad. A lot of Canadians are like that. And in terms of our feelings, like, we just have a lot of loyalty to the people we fought with. In all honesty, if you really want to know, we probably have more loyalty to the Australians than we do to the British, just because they treated us both like shit. And New Zealand,
and the Australians are just playing better.
Yeah, so in that sense, in terms of fighting on a battlefield, I will always pick it, and that's no slang to Alex. I love Alex, but like I would always pick an Australian over a Brit, just because they've even picked you guys over us in terms of giving things away.
You're both are still British. I don't want to hear this. You still have the Queen on your money, so I don't want to hear any of this that we're not like that.
I don't hate her. her. I don't hate her. I'm
See,
glad
we
that
do.
if she ends up being the last in the line of the royalty, I'm glad that that was my generation that saw her, because she at least had some grace. I mean, I'm not saying she was perfect. I don't doubt there's stuff in her background that I'll never know, but in comparison to the rest of the lot, I will take her.
It doesn't surprise me that the Greens are the leftist party in Australia. It doesn't surprise me at all, because
Oh, they're the leftist here too.
That's because
I'm like completely indifferent to the royal family. I give zero shits about anything.
And you shouldn't. And you shouldn't, because they really shouldn't have any more influence than they do. I'm just saying I didn't dislike Queen Elizabeth as the last monarch that I'll respect, because I think the Harry and Merkel stuff is just another one of those things that they do to distract stupid people. And I appreciate the drama sometimes, and I think they're both kind of shitty kids. And I'm rather impressed that the Queen is going to sue her grandson. Good for you, lady. I actually support that, because I think he's done a shitty thing to his grandma. But I think the British have more important things to focus on. Sorry, yeah, it's just the truth. They focus on more important things, because you guys are in just as deep a shit as everybody else is right now.
Well, I think the USA is not as in trouble as everybody else appears to be. My personal opinion. I could be wrong about it, but we got a constitution, we got the weapons, we got a lot of things that stand in the way of this that you guys don't have, and
you also have a whole citizenry of people who actually have balls. Like, you are a country of people who are willing to go and do stuff, and I'm grateful for that, because I'm hoping that some of that will rub off on your northern neighbors, because we could use some of that.
Yeah, well,
like, I'm not saying go rogue and fight, but, like,
without puffing my chest out, a lot of people look to the U.S. for the seat of democracy, whatever that means. So hopefully, because when it comes right down to it, if anybody attacks anybody, as long as you're a friend of ours, we're going to come to your rescue. So if somebody goes after France or Scotland or Australia or Canada, God forbid they should come after Canada, Jesus Christ, because that's right next door to us. The U.S. has got a formidable presence on the planet. You're going to have us there right away, in case as long as Australia doesn't continue in the vein that they're going and they actually become communist. Because the way they're acting right now is pretty fascist. As long as they don't embrace that and become fascists outright, then they're always going to have our protection. And there is a certain fondness that I see between Canada and the U.S. and Australia and the U.S. that I don't see with the UK. I know that they're a world power like we are, so there's a mutual respect there, but there isn't a love. When it comes to Canada and Australia, there is. Because there is a small link to, well, you guys used to be oppressed by UK too, and now you're not. Now you're like us. And that little thread means something to Americans.
Well, there's that, and to be quite frank, in terms of showing support the fastest, well, I mean, across seas, Australia does the best they can, but, like, Canada does that. We do tend to try to support you. Like, at best, Pierre Trudeau was one of the first guys who was like, fuck you, don't drag us into your wars anymore. But I didn't have a problem with that, because fair enough, we probably shouldn't have been being dragged.
I'm pretty sure that Australia is the only Western state that takes no support monetarily from the United States.
It's I saw a Sargon video, and he had this Australian woman on, and she put it perfectly, where she said, while it's true that Australia is the descendant of convicts, we're also the descendants of their jailers. And, like, that explains why the police are, like, acting the way they are.
Wow, that must have gone over. Sargon must have reacted strongly to that.
Yeah. Oh, he was just, he was almost angry at how the situation in Australia is at the moment. He's like, he couldn't believe what he was hearing when this Australian woman was like, no, that's just, we've always been like that.
The only thing that bothers me about all the other countries is, and I've seen some demonstrating something along these lines, but whenever another country is in trouble, we go and we help that country, whether it be money or support services or whatever. But whenever we're in trouble, nobody ever really helps us. Now, granted, when we went to Australia or went to Afghanistan, other people went with us. Australia is still there. We left, but Australia's still in there. I don't know if Canada's still there or not, but we left.
We abandoned our troops.
Yeah, so you guys did the same thing we did. Australia's still down there doing the hard work that we left. But we, like when Australia was on fire, we sent firefighters down to Australia to help with the fires that they were dealing with. Americans died in that. And Australians did too, but American people of their own volition went to Australia to help fight the fires, and some of them died. We've had firefighters or fire issues off and on with California for years. Not one person from any country has ever come here to help. Not one. I'm not trying to say poor me, but go ahead.
No, but I think there's the perception that America can handle itself. Like if like Australia is
not entirely true, because I'd like to remind you that even though I was young at the time and I didn't have anything to do with it, during 9/11, a lot of Canadians jumped the border to go help you guys. Some of them did it illegally.
Really?
That was a very That was a very different situation. Like that was like
that was confirmed. You need help. We just did it.
Yeah. No, but like if most countries here, there's fires in California, they'll think, well, they're America. I mean, they can handle this. Whereas if it's Australia, I can understand America being like, oh shit, we need to help them.
Yeah.
Like there's just a perception
I'm also picturing that conversation like, hey America, do you need some help from Canada? Fuck off.
It's a little bit different story between Australia and Canada. Canada is our northern border. I call it our top hat. It's not meant to be bad. It's just kind of cute. So if somebody attacks Canada, that puts a direct threat at us because they're right across the border. If somebody attacks Australia, it's kind of like, well, they're our friends. We have to do something, but it's really not a big, I don't want to say less than what it is. It would be very important to us too, but we wouldn't be scared if they attacked Australia. But it would, there's, like I said, when it comes to Canada and Australia, and even to some extent New Zealand, there's an emotional thing there. And even, to some extent, even Japan. I think we had to bomb them to get them in line, but they became our allies after that.
They have a culture that revolves a lot around honor.
Yeah,
like I do actually respect that about them. Like when you've earned that from them, or they want to show you that respect, or they've made a legit promise, like it does seem really real. Like that's not to say they won't screw you over in their own favor, but they do seem to take honor very, very seriously. I respect to you guys for that. Just saying, I will integrity means a lot.
Yeah, I will say this about the UK. One thing I did see that really touched me, and I have a hard time watching the video because it literally brings tears to my eyes. It was a 2012 Super Bowl. I think it was 2012. U2 is on stage, and they're singing "The Streets Have No Name." And behind them is this huge banner, and it's rolling up. I have to take a second here to compose myself. It's rolling up the names of all the victims of 9/11 as they're singing. And when he gets to the end, geez, I have a hard time even saying this without losing it.
Me too.
He's got a bomber jacket on. And at the end, when he's finishing the song, he opens up his bomber jacket to show the inside, and it's an American flag.
Aw.
Okay, that's nice.
Man, that's tough. It's tough for me to watch. It's even tough for me to talk about. You go on YouTube and play that, and man, it hits me hard. Every time I see it, I'm like, I can't watch that.
Yeah,
it just hits too hard. So
I think a lot of the kids don't appreciate that. A lot of us, I mean, for you, Hammer, like even for you that hits hard, but like I know I don't know for you, Terry, but like I was 18 for that, and I remember it very well because I was supposed to be getting up to go to work at Tim Hortons, so I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and my mom was like, "Jen, you have to come down and see this. I don't know what's going on," and I spent the whole day in shock because nobody could believe what they were seeing or hearing, because we had little TV screens, we had the radio,
Mhm.
and it was on that, and everyone was just like, so do we need to sign up? Because we're not going to stand here and let that happen. You know, I donated blood, and that probably went to a warehouse in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Oh boy.
And I tried donating some money, but I was like, well, I feel like I'm throwing a toonie at you guys, but, you know, the thought's what counts.
Well, I can say this. Go ahead, Terry.
I was not affected by 9/11 on any emotional level because it's just too far away from me.
Yeah.
So I sympathize with like Americans, because it must have been like a horrific time to live through, but it has no emotional resonance with me because it's the other side of the world. It's just too far away for me to get invested on anything other than an intellectual level.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's okay too, you know, because like I at the time I was so frustrated because I was too young to really do anything. And that's just it. Like, it wasn't a hero complex. It was just more of a, like, you guys do so much to help everybody else. And yeah, I was just too young. But like I said, I donated blood and money.
I don't want to say too much about this, but because I don't know if this would dox me or like that, but I will tell you that I was in DC when it happened. Because I have a house in Virginia and I used to work in DC, and I was there when it happened. I was at work and I'm looking out the window and I'm seeing a plume of smoke coming from the Pentagon. So, yeah, that's probably why it hits me hard. But anyway, we should probably get out of here because we're a little bit over on time, just a little bit.
Just a little.
Whatchamacallit, does YouTube have a timer? I know StreamYards has a timer, but I don't think YouTube has a timer, does it?
Not that I know of. I mean, I don't doubt there probably is, but I've never used one. So
11:30, 12:30, 1. There were 2 hours and 40 minutes, almost. No, an hour and 40 minutes.
What I did is on the YouTube page, if you put your mouse at the very beginning of the stream, it'll say minus 1 hour, 46 minutes and 37 seconds. So that's roughly how long we've been going.
Oh, okay. I got you. You're so smart. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. I think we bumped the audience out enough about talking about 9/11. So, tomorrow night's show, the Thursday show. Who's on Thursdays?
Johnny.
I'm saying Johnny. Oh, Johnny. I should know that. He was in chat.
Yes, he was.
Johnny Hellcat is on this show tomorrow, and
you should all join.
You should all come by and say hello. I'll be out there. And next week, we may be moving the show to an earlier time. I was going to do the 9 o'clock tonight, but Monkey wanted to do 9 o'clock to kind of make people feel a little more comfortable about Lords of the Night ending. So I said, okay, you do 9, I'll do 11 this week, but I'm probably going to do 9 next week. So I think both of you agreed that 9 o'clock is okay, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I think it's a better choice, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's definitely better for Terry, and it gives me a chance to relax after the show instead of, getting out late and all that kind of stuff. So it's better for everybody, and maybe it'll give people who are used to a 9 o'clock show some familiarity, that there's still people that they can chat with and join in.
And we even have the cripple, the girl, and the other one. So as long as in 2 years' time we replace Jen with a black guy, we'll be a full-on replacement.
Well, there's nothing saying that every once in a while we can't bully one of our old Lords of the Nights into a visit. Like
that would be nice.
I don't doubt within a couple weeks all three of them are gonna. Well, I look at how long it took Monkey to go stir crazy.
Yeah, we'll get one of them out here. I'll have to make up a new stream, but we'll get one out here. Anyway. Thanks, chat, for coming out tonight. Thanks for everybody who's sharing the stream on Twitter. You guys are awesome. And we'll see you guys next week at 9. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks for always coming.
This isn't a Sora movie, Jen.